Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So
The Roval last week brought crazy action and amazing battles, with road course specialist Abner Acosta breaking through for his first win of 2021 Season 4. But now, for the time being, we go back to turning left full-time in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series. We're at Kansas Speedway for round 4, and this track's tight but fast mini super speedway nature will surely catch a few drivers out today. Meanwhile, in the playoffs, this race will count more than ever for some of our drivers as we begin the round of 12. Who's going to kick it off the best? You'll find out and see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hello everyone, I'm Reese Gardner, and with me in the booth is Chris Phoebe. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by the ever-amazing Dougie Beard. We're going racing in America's heartland, but what does it take to win hearts and minds at this 1.5 mile oval? Let's go to our track guide to learn more.
Welcome to Kansas Speedway, located 20 minutes west of downtown Kansas City and on the Kansas side of the border. Kansas Speedway is a 1.5-mile D-shaped oval built by International Speedway Corporation and opened in 2001. Following a reconfiguration in the summer of 2012, Kansas Speedway saw its corners go from uniform 15-degree banking to the current progressive banking, starting at 17 degrees down by the white line and working up to 20 degrees near the wall. The change in banking paved way for far more side-by-side action across the board here. A wide track, there are varying philosophies to getting around Kansas. Some prefer the bottom of the track, which while shorter and quicker can also lead to greater tire wear. Others like to ride around by the wall, using that extra bit of banking for a bigger run off the corner and to conserve tires. A problem spot here at Kansas can be the exit of Turn 4, where the car is prone to snapping loose if the driver has too much steering input on corner exit, and the apron can also be especially slippery, particularly just past the start-finish line. The NASCAR Cup Series races here at Kansas twice a year, with accompanying races from the Affinity Series, the trucks, as well as ARCA. IndyCar held events here at Kansas from its opening in 2001 all the way through 2010, but has not been back since the repaint. Well, that's our look at Kansas Speedway. Rock Chalk Jayhawk, enjoy the show.
Well, Chris, Kansas Speedway, a pretty modern venue, all things considered, but you did mention to me before we went live, this place does act quite a lot like a super speedway. Draft is important here, and the banking is nice and high as well.
That's right, Reese. This track, especially with the configuration of engines the trucks have and the gradual banking, we see a lot of similarities to super speedway racing here, especially early on in the tire run when these guys can just about flat-foot it around here. Later on in the tire run, we may see them struggle with grip a little bit, and that may change how things are operating. But at the very least, early in the run, look for a lot of fast, close action.
For sure. 85 laps is going to be the race distance today, and it will be brought to you by, among others, ASR. Owned and operated by passionate sim racers, Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminium profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
It's also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you improve your driving skills with modern overlays, race statistics, native VR integration. You can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
Today's event is also brought to you by SimMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring everyone together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. Find out how you can bridge the gap between virtual and real motorsports at SimMSA.net.
And finally, the PRL NASCAR Truck Series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. All right, let's get into the meat of the night, the championship as things stand coming into round 4. The driver points, and it seems Bradley Holly and Matthew Long are the class of the field right now, but it's still very close for these top 5 positions. Long on 140 with Holly trailing by 10. Adam Zemke, who won round 1, still up there in 3rd in the championship, Chris.
That's right, and with Thomas Sink and Abner Acosta both being top runners and both being very close there at the back end of the top 5, this championship for this season is still very much alive, and that's not even counting our playoffs.
Cowgill here, he's one of 2 drivers who we have a zoom camera for tonight, the other being Austin Hunter. So on some occasions throughout the night, we may very well see what it's like for Austin Hunter and Patrick Cowgill in their real-life sim seat. First lap begins then for the number 31, and demonstrating the high banking of this circuit. It's lovely and wide too, but you see he's struggling a little bit to keep the rear end in check here on the first lap.
That's right. Sometimes it's easy on this track to overdrive these corners a little bit, miss your apex, and it can make the back end of the truck seem a little bit tail happy, and that can mean you have to put even more input into it just to keep the truck straightened out and wear off the tires a little bit. But Cowgill actually going to the top of the charts here early on, a little bit slower than what we saw in practice by a few tenths, but this is just his first lap. These trucks do take a little bit of time to get the momentum built up, Reese. So look for these second laps to probably be the quicker ones.
Yes, it looks like Cowgill, I don't know if he backed off a little bit on that lap or whatever, but he didn't quite maximize the exit onto the back straight. Tipping down to the apron, try and get as much time as possible. Cowgill, unfortunately, not able to improve by as much as he'd want. Joshua Daniels has just slipped through to take provisional pole, and Cowgill trailing him by only 12 thousandths of a second. Some fantastic times coming in here, but the top 2 still well clear of the rest of the field right now. Daniel Knight just slipping into 3rd.
And looking at the times, it does seem everyone's slowed down a bit across the board from practice to qualifying. Not sure if maybe the track got a little bit hotter. Looks like it's around 94 degrees at the racing surface, which is pretty warm and does make for a less grippy surface. So the track is very warm. That can make it very slick, and could be why we have such a drop-off between practice and qualifying.
Yeah, another reason might be drivers might have set their times in practice with a little help from a car ahead of them.
By Abner Acosta going to the top of the charts.
Oh, yeah, Abner Acosta taking another couple of hundredths out of that time at the top. This is looking like an incredibly competitive top 10 here. Danny Cervantes, with only a minute to go, running the high line through the turns, trying to get some extra momentum here on potentially his second lap. Looks like Mark Kalin has managed to get his truck up to P7 now in the number 62. Everything going reasonably to plan for the drivers in the top 10. So what kind of time can we expect out of Danny Cervantes to start things off? 31.759, but this is his second lap, and he does have just enough time to get it in before the session ticks over to the race. Maybe a little bit of oversteer coming off of turn 2. See how well he does. He's going to cut all the way down to the inside of the apron here. Will he be able to challenge for a position in the top 10, maybe even for provisional pole? Flat out, pretty much all the way around.
Looks like he's got a cloud too, so the track's going to cool off a little bit. Looks like it may help him a bit, but not quite to the top. Looks like he's going to slot in towards the back of the top 10.
Yeah, actually just outside it, P12 for the number 25, and the session is over. So Eric Hauk and Adam Zemke have not set qualifying times. We'll see if they can work their way forward in the race. Time then to check out the full grid before the drivers pull off on their formation lap. Abner Acosta getting in an excellent time there. Of course, he's been improving steadily on the ovals, and he will start alongside Bradley Holly for this race at Kansas. Daniels and Cowgill on row 2, with Sink and Evans completing the top 6. Mark Kalin and Matthew Long, row 4. Matthew Long, of course, the championship leader right now, so he'll have to keep himself in that general area, avoid a crash. Colton Lane and Daniel Knight round out the top 10.
Just outside of the top 10 is going to be Clayton Montgomery starting 11th on the
The
grid.
final 2 cars, Zemke and Hauk, as I mentioned, not setting qualifying times, so look out for them throughout the race. Got to be careful. If there's a crash in the midfield in those first few laps, they're going to have to take big avoiding action.
That's a very fair point. Some of these drivers don't take a time and start on the back by choice, just because it helps them to avoid trouble. But on a track like this, where you don't have as much room as you do at like a Daytona or a Talladega, sometimes starting at the back can just basically lead you right into the trouble.
See how much trouble ends up eventuating in these opening laps, but I wouldn't expect much. These drivers, of course, very clean races, the lot of them, and in terms of big incidents, we haven't seen a huge amount over the course of the season so far. So I have good faith that these drivers will be able to give us a clean race and a fun race as well. Kansas Motor Speedway, brilliant circuit. I'm not too hot on the road course. If you follow my YouTube channel, you'll certainly know that, but definitely this oval providing fantastic racing. Let's see what the pace car will think of all of this. If there's a couple of cautions over the course of the night, we might see him come out again, but into the pits he comes. There's going to be Abner Acosta, who leads them away at the fall of the green flag. There it is, and we are away. It's a pretty even start, at least attempting to. Thomas Sink right up there, and slipping into the outside line again is Patrick Cowgill. So I think he's just biding his time at the moment here, Chris.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised to see Joshua Daniels there, the only one running really up high against the wall this early on. I really thought we'd see more drivers trying to make that work here. But this could pay dividends for him as the race leads on, but we'll have to kind of stay tuned and watch. But that outside groove, I really expected to be used by more people.
I suppose at this point in the race, the track is cooler up there on the high side, so Joshua Daniels might be using that to maybe just look after his tyres a little bit, put a bit less steering in, and make sure that he has enough rubber. You know, if there's a caution, he might be able to vault ahead of the rest of the field when everyone else comes in for the marked pit stop, potentially, but we'll have to wait and see. He's got a couple of drivers starting to join him up there. It looks like Patrick Cowgill is converted to the Church of the High Line. See how he goes with Thomas Sink up there as well.
Yeah, any other day of the week, we'd probably call that line the 31's taking the outside line. We just happen to have the 77 of Daniels that's up there rim riding the track and making Cowgill look tame in comparison.
Yeah, very much so. That's a proper commitment there from Joshua Daniels. He's definitely doing something very different to everyone else out there at the moment. It looks to me like this top 8, they've broken away quite convincingly from the rest of the field. The pack behind, headed up by Adam. Oh my goodness. Oh, okay, this might be a caution here if they can't hold on to it. Oh my goodness. How did that not bring out the yellow flag? We stay green, but this could potentially bring out the yellow flag with the speed difference between these cars. Patrick Cowgill, my goodness, falling back into the field, and there is the yellow. There's been a crash further up the back. Patrick Caron's engine is smoking.
Yeah, it looked like, I believe as we were panning away from it, I think the 65 truck was spinning around, but it's honestly amazing it took that long for the caution to come out. It felt like that was probably 4 wrecks before we actually got to the wreck that drew the caution.
Goodness me. So poor Patrick Caron in the number 89 was having to deal with the crash in front of him, and it looks like, yeah, the number 65 of Adam Schoen, when he spun, or Adam Shane rather, ended up getting collected by the number 89. So there's what happened to Patrick Cowgill, and a couple of trucks taken with him there. And falling back quite a bit is the Chevrolet. You'll see the number 89 just avoiding action. But yeah, two trucks coming together just up ahead. That was a completely separate incident, it seems.
Yeah, I think this was a case of what you mentioned during the pre-race portion of the show, Reese. We had drivers that were probably responding to the incident up ahead, checking up, and just kind of a chain reaction through the field. And you had people that knew what was going on, and people that were just driving into it, and unfortunately caught a few people out.
That's a shame there for the number 65 of Adam Shane, but pit lane is a hive of activity right now. We've got the majority of the field in. Kalen, Knight, Cowgill, Montgomery, Shane, Curry, Traver, Medina, Emasi as well. Cowgill brings it in, and you'll be dealing with a bit of damage then on the front right and going down the right side of his truck. Won't be able to get it repaired completely, I'd imagine, unless he wants to lose more than a lap. Of course, you don't get a spare truck, no fast repair in this series, so you take any damage. If it's substantial, you've got to carry it for the rest of the night.
Yeah, that's where the no spare truck rule really can be a detriment to what some of these drivers are trying to do. An 85-lap race can be a bit of a grind here at Kansas, but you add a damaged truck and some bad handling, and 85 laps feels like 100.
That it does. Well, number 62 out of the pits, Mark Kalen. He rejoins in 24th place, and Adam Zemke also making his way through the pits as well. He's come out there. So Kalen, one of the pack that was running up the top there, part of the Waterback team, obviously. So this will certainly set him up well for a good middle phase of the race, but the top 15 remain on the same set of tyres that they started on. Patrick Cowgill has been in the pits now for 1.5 minutes, and it doesn't look like he's coming out. Patrick Caron as well in there for 2.5 minutes, so we might have lost them, at least in the first part of the race. Hopefully the two Patricks can make it back out onto the circuit in the latter half and get a classified finish and some points, but it's not looking good for them right now. Restart, pace car comes in, and Abner Acosta goes very early. I think he actually took Bradley Holly by surprise there. That's way earlier than he went on the first start, but Holly right down to the apron, which you can use in the tri-oval on this track. Try and gain some of that pace back right in the draft of Abner Acosta now on the restart, and it's looking like a clean start throughout the rest of the field as well, so no troubles here at the front, in the middle, or at the back. But certainly trouble for Abner Acosta, it seems, because look at that draft.
Yeah, it looked like Holly may have given him a little bit of a bump into the corner, as Bradley now has his hands full. Looks like Josh Daniels is actually to his inside, as you can see creeping up on the camera there. So Holly had to basically check up a little bit behind the 5 and is now going to lose second spot, at least for the moment.
Look at that momentum he's carrying on the outside line, though. Seems that as the tyres have gone through their heat cycle and they're starting to approach the end of their optimum usable life, the outside line really starting to come in here. Bradley Holly is drawing level with Joshua Daniels out of most corners. So if Daniels wants to get by him, he's going to have to be committed. He's going to have to go a bit harder into one of these corners, but he can't do that with the truck on his outside. He'll have to hope that Abner Acosta can give him a draft.
It's almost funny in a way. Daniels was the one that was cleaning off that outside groove, and really the first person to put any real effort into it, and then he gets passed by Holly on the outside.
And it looks like he's about to have the same done to him by Thomas Sink, potentially Matthew Long as well. Saw a hint of 3 wide there, but You wouldn't want to do that at this point of the race. Maybe some slight technical issues for Thomas Sink as well. It's not going to inspire confidence in his competitors. Bit of a bump for Joshua Daniels from Thomas Sink. It was some really good momentum off the corner there for the number 48, but cannot take advantage of it. The back straight's just too short.
Yeah, that's a very fair point about this track too, is you can get that momentum on the outside off of 2, but compared to a lot of
over 6th and 7th position, they've got company. Danny Cervantes and Charles Sumner as well up behind them. Here is the pack, and running 2 wide behind as well. 2 wide running happening all throughout this field, and Sumner committing to the outside, same as Joshua Daniels, but there was a little bit of a pinch there with Doug Evans coming up the track off of turn 2. My goodness. The racing as intense as I expected it here at Kansas, but everyone just backing off when they need to. Of course, only 1 caution so far, and I think it's been very good incident avoidance from a lot of the drivers so far today. We've had a few half spins, a few big slides coming up the track, but everyone's been pretty calm.
Yeah, it's been, honestly, by PRL standards, a little bit sloppy today compared to some of their other races on 1.5 mile tracks. But with that being said, as quote-unquote sloppy as it may be, these guys are definitely doing a pretty good job recovering when things do get a little bit hairy.
Well, it looks like our top 2 battle is increasing in intensity, because Bradley Holly getting a great run off turn 2 and bumping the back of Abner Acosta coming into turn 3. And have a look at the both of them. They are on the high line now. They've gotten the message, and as these tyres start running down, that's the place to be, it seems, at least. And this might be a race-long battle between these two, and if there's another caution, they'll be right in there in the pits. I don't think either of them are going to commit to extending these tyres any further than they have to. But there's also the possibility of green flag stops as well, as Holly goes to the inside, gets a bit of momentum on the entry, but you'll see Abner Acosta continue that run of speed round the outside. It really is where you want to be.
Yeah, these two have been championship rivals many times over, Reese, and really been on again, off again competitors in those championship races. But Acosta coming over from the road racing side of the PRL and has gotten better and better and better at these oval races, and he's a driver that really seems to ride the momentum. He gets a win like we saw last week at the Roval, and will very quickly be a driver that gets on a hot streak. And if he rides this out at the right time of the playoffs, we could see him taking that year-long championship just based off this run here we get between these two rounds.
Yeah, your championship could be decided at any point over the course of a season. That's why you've got to bring your A game to every single round. We've got a bit of lap traffic here for our leaders. Tom Amassi with some heavy damage to the front, and also down on the apron, Cowgill very slow. He's making his way back out. That truck has been largely repaired, but man, he is going very slow on the apron. I'm wondering if there's been a further issue for the 31.
Yeah, you really got to feel for Patrick. He's in the championship chase, but he's got a long day ahead of him here.
That he has. It's going to be quite the interesting run here for Patrick Cowgill if he's able to recover in the next couple of rounds. He'll have to find the spirit and the motivation to continue after not the best start to tonight's racing. Abner Acosta, meanwhile, up the front, still holding on here, keeping the gap to Bradley Holly behind. It stands at 0.3 of a second now, and it seems Holly has backed off a little bit. Acosta switching to the inside with Bradley Holly riding in the middle of the racetrack through the turns. Now, Chris, you're obviously a bit more familiar with oval racing than me. At a track like Kansas, what's the division, you could say, between the bottom, the middle, and the high lines? What are the advantages and disadvantages that a driver has to take into account?
Well, one thing you have here at Kansas that is somewhat unique, I guess going a little bit more commonplace, is what's called progressive banking. So it's a little flatter on the bottom and it gets more banked as you go up the track. Now, when you're running the bottom, it may be a little bit flatter, but it is the shortest line around the track, so you're running the least amount of distance. However, you move up the track and you have momentum that helps you, and the higher up you get, the more momentum you can kind of drag along with you there. And also, when you run higher up on the track, you can preserve the tires a little bit better because you're having to put less steering input into the wheel. So there's definitely pros and cons between each side of the track.
Oh, trying up the inside, a bit further down in the field here. Take it easy, boys. Got to be careful. It's Colton Lane and Joshua Daniels who are still fighting over 6th position here. And Daniels not being able to find his way past Colton Lane right now. They do have quite the gap ahead to Matthew Long, so they can't afford to battle with each other too hard. You don't want to lose time, especially considering Matthew Long's getting a good draft from Charles Sumner and Thomas Sink up ahead.
Yeah, it's nice to see Thomas Sink having another good run here. Seemed like towards the middle of the year, he really kind of got bogged down and was not performing at his usual level. But we see him here in the latter part of the year, and he has really stepped it up and has been doing a tremendous job probably the last several weeks. And definitely looking like somebody that could be a championship contender as well.
He's certainly of the level with the likes of Abner Acosta and Bradley Hollier. As we check out this very intense fight, number 82 down on the bottom, that's Clayton Curry. Up there is Doug Evans in the black and white machine with Adam Young in the black and red truck just up ahead. Battle of the Fords versus a Toyota here. And outside for Young and Evans. Oh, maybe a bit of oversteer for Adam Young there. Lost momentum and looks like Mr. Evans slipping through. And that's created a bit of a check up behind. CM Pennington having to back out of it a bit. That allows Ryan Traver through. And look at the run that he's got up the inside. Now level with Doug Evans. That's what, 2-3 positions in one corner?
Well, that's not a bad bit of work there.
Certainly not. That's quite advantageous there for Ryan Traver, but now he's down on the inside and he can't move up high. Doug Evans is still there. I think if Traver wants to start looking after his tyres, he's going to have to slot back up there, but it doesn't look like he's making any attempt of that for now. Of course, we don't know exactly what goes on in the drivers' heads, what they're thinking about in terms of strategy. May very well be that those 3 positions were all that Ryan Traver wanted, and now he's looking to try and stay behind and get some extra momentum, because I saw him clip the apron once on that lap, and he'll want to avoid that.
Yeah, that apron can be very inviting when you're trying to get underneath somebody, but you just drop a couple tires on there and it'll shoot you right up to the track. We've seen that bite a couple people today, and definitely not what you want to do if you want your race to continue on in a positive manner.
Well, things are very quiet in the front of the field, but this battling in the midfield looking fantastic. There's a pack for 9th to 21st here that's headed up by Eric Hauk. And of course, remember Hauk, one of the drivers who started a little bit further down there, not setting a qualifying time, up 23 positions now in the number 22. He's got Mark Kalin right behind him too. So a fantastic run here for Eric, and he was one of the drivers that pitted under the first caution. The leader of the cars that have pitted is Charles Sumner, who's currently up in P4, and it looks like he's gaining on Thomas Sink.
Yeah, Sumner seems to be running a pretty good pace today. He's closing in on Sink really fast.
Sink, of course, still committing to the outside line on those older tyres, but the inside is where you want to be when your tyres are fresher. 26-lap-old tyres now for Charles Sumner versus 36-lap-old tyres for Thomas Sink. So that right there is the visual difference between those two sets of tyres, and Sumner still trying to line up a move here. Sink falling back a bit from Holly and Acosta up the front. Sink ran a 33.1 on the last lap versus 32.9 and 32.8 for our top two, and 33 flat for Charles Sumner on the last lap, and pretty much the same time that time around as well. So the cars with fresher tyres, they're starting to come to the fore here. Clayton Montgomery is the second running of the cars that have pitted, down in 7th place.
Yeah, we're at the long end of the run, and those guys that took the opportunity to pit will definitely pay dividends for them to towards the end of this run with the just 10 laps less on the tires. I mean, it makes a huge difference at a track like this.
Yeah, a lot of load going through these tyres on these high turns. You want to avoid putting in too much steering angle, otherwise the fronts will go, and at a track like this you do not want to deal with understeer. In fact, at a place like Kansas, at a, oh dear, oh no, that's into the wall there for Mark Kalin. Allows Eric Hauk by. Eric now up 23 positions from where he started. Well into the top 10 now. Danny Cervantes taking advantage of that too, slipping by Mark Kalin. So seems with, well actually Kalin's one of the cars that pitted in under the first caution, so maybe he's been working those tyres a bit too hard. He's having a bit of trouble keeping it straight.
Yeah, and not to mention Kalin was also mixed up a little bit in that first incident that precipitated that first caution we had. So he's not exactly racing around here on a truck that's in the best of shape. There is some aerodynamic damage, and that can make a difference too when you're trying to circumnavigate that close to the wall.
Oh, I'm seeing Adam Young falling way down the order. He's going into the pits, actually. A green flag pit stop there, the first that we've seen tonight, and 39-lap-old tyres there for Adam Young. He's been on that set since the start of the race, so now we're probably going to be seeing a lot more drivers come in unless there's a caution in the next 30 seconds.
Yeah, Adam Young, who's a meteorologist by trade, looks like he forecasted it being time to hit pit road and got the tires swapped out. And I'm sure this will precipitate a large number of drivers coming to pit road here shortly.
Well, we keep our eye on this battle between Matthew Long, Charles Sumner and Thomas Sink. Sink has managed to extend that gap. There might have been a couple of small errors for Charles Sumner, but he's still working his way up brilliantly. He's up 11 places from where he started, Mr. Sumner, playing the first half of the race very well. But now we're on lap 43. We are past half race distance, so now is the time when the drivers will be thinking about, okay, when's the optimum time to get on my last set of tyres? Remember, they only get 4, so you can't afford to pit too many times here.
Oh. I got to ask, Reese, over in your corner of the world, do they have Tropicana orange juice over there?
No, they do not. As the number 60 of Colton Lane makes his way in. Yeah, Tropicana, not a brand that has a presence in Australia, though my city recently got Taco Bell, so I suppose the American brands are slowly infiltrating Aussie land.
Well, I hope your toilets can handle all the Taco Bell.
Well, yeah, you say that, but I've eaten it twice now, and thus far I have had no digestive issues from eating that food. We'll wait and see, as my goodness, look at that. Oof. Big incident there for, who's that? I can't even see the car number on the side. Eric Hauk, my goodness. And Eric, he's on that 34-lap-old set of tyres there. Did not work out well for him out of turn 4.
Yeah,
Thank goodness no one else was taken with him.
I thought he was coming to pit road with seeing the angle out of the corner of my eye, but maybe he possibly missed pit road. We'll follow him along here coming off of turn 4. what I saw was him drastic. Oh no, he just got all kinds of loose there off of 4.
Wow.
And yeah, it looks like he obviously you can see the side of his truck all scraped up, so definitely made some contact with that safer barrier.
Yeah, well, you run the high line, that's the risk you take. If you have a little snap of oversteer, then the wall is the only place you can go. But Abner Acosta has made his way into the pit lane, and it looks like Bradley Holly and Matthew Long coming in a lap later as well. So big green flag pit stops here for everyone in the top 15. Charles Sumner will take the lead of the motor race. Cervantes and Curry slipping into second and third as the 109 overshooting his pit bay. That's Nicholas Hunter there. He was a playoffs contender until the third round. And the 184 of Bradley Holly in there too. Where is Mr. Abner Acosta coming out of turn 4 now? This could be a proper change for the lead. Bradley Holly, though, is out of the pit lane now and getting up to speed. This is going to be close here between our leaders.
Yeah, we're watching along here as Holly tries to get back out onto the track before Acosta gets him. Doesn't look like it's going to happen, though. Acosta's going to maintain his lead on the track.
Well, it was almost a leg up there for Bradley Holly, but pitting a bit later, I think Abner Acosta a little bit more time to get up to speed, having pitted the previous lap. The gap between our two leaders has now increased. Our two effective leaders, rather. CM Pennington is the one in the lead at the moment. On his second set of tyres, Danny Cervantes and Clayton Curry finally make it in. Abner Acosta and Bradley Holly will filter through into second and third as a result. The CM Pennington up here in the lead. He's got a lot of cars to deal with, and they are out of position, so he's going to have to make his way into the pits post-haste, and it looks like that's what he's doing. Oh.
Yeah, that was not the prettiest merging onto the apron I've ever seen, but got the job done. He's made it to pit road, and probably not a moment too soon for what he was feeling out there.
Yeah, those tyres would have been well and truly done by that point. Well, checking back in with the Tropicana car, the number 98. Quite the pack here that Charles Sumner is dealing with. Clayton Montgomery in front of him, Adam Young, Matthew Long, Miguel Angel Cardoso behind. There goes Sumner up the inside of Clayton Montgomery. They both just come out of the pits and they're on fresh tyres, so they are going for it.
Sumner just tearing through that corner. You can see him get to the inside of Nicholas Hunter and making it look almost effortless there as he gets by.
Brilliant move from Charles Sumner. Those tyres up to temperature, and look at the number 99 of Matthew Long. He's getting his nose in as well. And look at the pace advantage he seems to have here, passing Nicholas Hunter, who is a lapped car. They're not fighting for position there. Charles Sumner will be looking over his shoulder as they go too wide behind. Clayton Montgomery sticking to the inside. Matthew Long sweeps down and keeps the position. But my goodness, Matthew Long, he's got quite a bit of pace under his belt at the moment, and his tyres are a lap older than Charles Sumner, but it seems that he's really taking advantage of them here in the first phases of this stint.
You know, you got to think with an eye to the playoffs, Reese. With a couple of tracks like Texas and especially Martinsville coming up in this round, what a coup it would be for somebody in this round to pick up the win and get to advance and then not have to worry about Texas or Martinsville. That's definitely got to be something that's weighing on their minds here as we get deeper into this run. Yeah,
absolutely. There's a lot to play for in the playoffs. And of course, a win under your belt in the first race of the round of 12 will certainly put your mind at ease right now. Abner Acosta is in the box seat for that. But the likes of Mr. Long, they'll be driving as hard as they can to try and get up to the top 3 and make themselves a presence in that battle for the first win of the round of 12. Speaking of our leaders, have a look at Bradley Holly. He's caught up to Abner Acosta now, taking advantage of the draft and some clear air with a couple of lapped cars to navigate as well. That's Doyle Lawrence that they're making their way by now. But Bradley Holly is back in to the control room and looking to flip the switch on Abner Acosta's lead.
Now, one of Holly's go-to moves that he's known for in this series, Reese, is he'll run in the second position, and he won't make any effort to pass the leader until he is absolutely sure he can take the lead and keep it. So right now we're seeing him kind of turn up the wick a little bit and catch up to the back of Abner Acosta. Now we just have to wait and see if he's taking the patient approach or if he's going to strike right away.
I would expect with working the car as hard as he is, catching back up to Abner Acosta, he'll use this opportunity right now to back off a bit, save the rubber, and both of these guys maybe put their eyes forward to if there's another caution. Holly, yeah, you see, he's thinking about the tyres there, going to the high line, getting the momentum though. Will he go for the move? No, he won't. Catches up to Abner Acosta on the verge of giving him a bumper tap, but you can see that the decision is made there for the 184. He's perfectly happy to stay behind for now. Or is he? Going down to the apron in the tri-oval. Oh dear, side by side into turn one. Well, Acosta now has the outside line. He'll get the momentum off turn two. Holly is ahead as they get to the apex of the corner. Is this going to be the lead for Bradley Holly, or will Abner Acosta come back at him in these last 30 laps of the race? Wheel to wheel on the way into turn four. Love to see it, but it looks like Bradley Holly has done enough there to snatch the lead from Abner Acosta. Now, you did say, Chris, he wouldn't do it until he was sure he could keep it, but I don't know if he has much chance of keeping it with Abner Acosta right on his bumper and another lapped car on the way up the road.
Yeah, you got to wonder if maybe Acosta fed him a dummy there and let Holly think that it was time to make a move, and now Acosta can fall back, follow in Holly's wake, save some fuel, save some tire, and see what maybe he can come up with here in the closing laps.
It is indeed the closing laps. This race has absolutely flown by, and with a lap time of only half a minute, we have probably, if we stay green, like 15 minutes of racing, if that. So the drivers are in full focus mode right now. Fatigue not setting in. These are nice short races, so the drivers can bring their A game all the way through, but with lap cars like Danik Momi up ahead, you still have to back out of it every so often. Just look after your car, keep it scratch free. They come up the road and try and widen the turn in for turn one as much as they can, but Momi, of course, he's not going anywhere there on the outside, can't make himself see through. Bradley Holly holding on to the lead from Abner Acosta for the time being, as the battle for third behind is pretty much non-existent. It is really a battle for fourth at the moment, because Thomas Sink very far ahead, and he's got a couple of lapped cars, Dalton Gayer, Ryan Traver and Doyle Lawrence, Adam Shane in between him and the battle for fourth, Matthew Long and Charles Sumner. And Long, of course, getting past Sumner just a little bit before, but Charles, he's still staying with it, keeping it consistent, working that inside line and looking after his truck.
Yeah, Sumner really putting in a solid day's work here. Doesn't look like he's having to push himself too hard to keep up with everybody. Just running a nice, consistent race, and definitely going to be a good points day for the Tropicana truck.
Yeah, he's up 10 positions from where he started, so a very profitable night so far for Charles Sumner. We'll see if he can hold on to that fifth place to the end, maybe even nab fourth. Who knows, if there's another caution and there's a shuffling in the order, he could be in contention for a podium. We'll have to wait and see. So the battles are very spread out now. We've had a decent mix of Cars on the lead lap and cars not on the lead lap with that round of green flag pit stops. So the drivers don't just have to work with the guys they're battling for position with, but they've also got to try and navigate the lapped cars as well, which, you know, is it's not as cut and dry as it is in road course racing. There's basically no blue flags in ovals, so you can race with lapped cars. Long has, I think the decision is, like, where do you go? Do you potentially lose another position here to Colton Lane? Look at the run here from the number 60. He's going to have to commit somewhere, inside or outside. It's going to be inside for Colton Lane. Sways it in. Matthew Long sticks to the outside. He's going to have to get on the throttle quickly if he wants to maintain this momentum, and it looks like he has. Side by side on the exit of turn 2, as you like it. So Colton Lane's having a bit of a tough time getting past the 99 here, the championship leader.
Yeah, it's that point of the race where we see the real drivers come out, because they're having to fight through the tire wear and basically pull a rabbit out of a hat trying to make these trucks handle right to the end of the race.
Oh, big slide for Matthew Long. He's going to come down the circuit. Oh, he holds on to it. Oh, my goodness. I mean, he's on the verge of having a mega spin every couple of laps as Matthew Long. I'm surprised that that truck has been Holly starting to fall off the wagon. Maybe his rear tyres are starting to complain a bit too much. The oversteer in effect on the outside line, but Abner Acosta, I think, struggling a bit with the fronts. He can't maintain the speed down on the bottom, at least on exit. Hasn't got what it takes to get by Bradley Holly at the moment, but with only 4 laps to go now as they come across the line. This could go either way, especially with Eric Hauk down there on the inside and Abner Acosta following Bradley Holly around. Eric Hauk just clipping the bottom of the apron there, but he stays out of the way of our leaders. Abner Acosta, of course, coming off a race win at the Charlotte Roval last round, and oh, this is going to be difficult. Dalton Geyer right there with them as well. Oh boy, which way is this finish going to go here, Chris? Who have you got for victory?
I mean, at this point, it's a coin flip. I mean, both drivers dead even right now as they go through turns 1 and 2. Acosta finally able to pull ahead, but then you see the momentum on the outside inches Holly back ahead. Acosta goes for the side draft a little bit. He's going to dive back to the bottom. And here we are once again, dead heat.
Oh boy. The private label Team Hype car moves ahead out of turn 4. Starting lap 84, we have 2 to go now, and our leaders still side by side. Bradley Holly, he can't move down to the inside. Abner Acosta is right there. Abner, meanwhile, can't maximize the exits of the turns as, oh, they come so close to making contact, but they give each other the requisite amount of space. Acosta starts to pull ahead again on the entry, but look out for the exit. Bradley Holly absolutely sailing through, but Acosta will keep it side by side down on the apron as it is white flag here at Kansas Speedway in the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series. An absolute dead heat between our rivals as, oh, Abner Acosta, he pushed up the track there, lost momentum, the front tyres have gone, and you see the relief on Bradley Holly's face. He knows that the win is his now. Just one more turn to go for our former champion. And what a fantastic drive it has been there for Bradley Holly. He is going to cross the line to win round 4 at Kansas Speedway and certainly secure that playoffs position for him.
I mean, you could see the look of relief on his face when he saw Acosta fall off there at the end. And that shows just how hard of a race those two are having.
My Lord. Yeah, that's some of the hardest racing I've seen on an oval. And it was so intense. There was no way you could tell which of them was going to be ahead at the end. I think Abner, he just worked those front tires a bit too hard, maybe got a little oversteer on the bottom and lost that momentum. Well, more wins will surely come for Abner Acosta, but for now, it is Bradley Holly who is back in the winner's circle. And this will be a very sweet victory celebration as the rest of the field finishes behind. The donuts begin. Well, as Bradley Holly starts to taste the champagne, we're going to step aside very briefly here on the Global Sim Racing channel. You're watching the Precision Racing League NASCAR Truck Series. We'll be back very shortly with our full results and a chat with our top three.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois.
And Jim Westerfield round out the top 10.
Doug Evans in 11th with Mark Kalin right behind him, recovering from a rough day to finish 12th. Adam Young, a pretty solid finish for him in 13th, with AJ Roderick, a nice quiet 14th place run. Stacy Hunter and Jose Medina, the last two drivers on the lead lap. Then we get into Austin Hunter, Adam Zemke, Danik Momi, and Nicholas Hunter completing the top 20, all one lap down.
Adam Zemke, of course, starting at the back, not setting a qualifying time, gained 13 positions. Great run. Doyle Lawrence comes home in 21st place after starting down in 13th. Daniel Knight losing 12 positions, unfortunately. Incident that he was involved in more or less sparked the first caution, or the only caution that we saw tonight. Adam Shane comes home 23rd with Eric Hauk gaining a couple of positions. Ryan Traver finishes where he started in 25th place, 3 laps down. Then it's CM Pennington, Clayton Curry, Tom Massey, Dalton Gaya, and Miguel Angel Cardozo, who spent some time in the pits in this race. Big heartbreak for Patrick Cowgill. He was certainly in with a shot here at winning, but it was certainly not to be for him, making 2 trips to the pits. He is classified with a finish, but very unfortunate. Patrick Caron, a well and true retirement from this one. So that's the field, that's how they stack up, and we're going to have a chat to our race winner now. The number 184 of Bradley Holly joins us. Bradley, congratulations on your victory. A race-long battle with Abner Acosta. How was it from your perspective?
Oh, it was a ton of fun. Every time we race, I race with Abner, it's always clean and really, really enjoyable. And tonight was really showed how much fun I can have.
Yeah, it seemed like the dichotomy of the high line and the low line well and truly in effect here. And I'm wondering the specific reasons for going for the high line. Is it just to look after the tyres, make sure that the fronts still have something left in them for the final laps?
Well, with the way this setup was running the bottom for the first, 15 to 30 laps, depending on when you wanted to get brave and go up top, because once you got up there, it killed your right rear. And it was, I felt more comfortable being on the top than being on the bottom. And just like Abner was probably more comfortable being on the bottom than up on the top.
Well, at the end of it, that outside line is what certainly helped you. Obviously, working the right rear that hard, the extra momentum off the turns was worth a lot today.
Yeah, absolutely. I tried to take care of my tires as much as I could, and then once Abner got next to me, I had to just pick up the intensity, just that little 20% more, and was able to keep it on his outside.
Well, with that win under your belt, we're in the round of 12 in the playoffs, and that's certainly going to help your campaign there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a tough road to the round of 4, and that last race is going to be quite entertaining. I think with the guys that we have in the final 12 right now. Whoever gets it, I think it's going to be an absolute fight for the win.
And of course, we'll see if you are a part of it. Certainly, I'm sure you will be, Bradley. Before we let you go, is there anyone that you'd like to thank for your victory today?
First off, I'd like to thank Abner for racing me as clean as he did. That was a great battle. I'd like to thank everybody in PRL and all the organizers. I'd like to thank you guys for broadcasting week in and week out. Y'all put on a great show, and all the Waterback guys.
It was a good day for Waterback Racing. That's Bradley Holly there, race winner, and Chris Phoebe is now stood by to speak with our second place finisher, Abner Acosta.
Abner, great run today. Backed up the win last week with a pretty solid run here today, and it was a great race all race long between you and Bradley.
Hello, guys. Good evening. It was very fun. I think it was just me and him the whole time. Fell short a little bit there. I was a little bit disappointed, but it's on me and my pit entry and all of that. Lost a lot of time and then was behind on some tires. So, put myself in that position. But it was really fun. Congrats to Brad and Thomas on the podiums.
Now, it looked like up until that very last lap, you were closing on him pretty good there. What happened on that last lap from your perspective that gave up that last little bit that allowed Bradley to get away?
Passing here on the outside after like 20 laps, it's really tough unless the guy on the outside makes a mistake. That's the preferred line. You do waste more tire on the outside, I think. So my whole perspective from when it was like 20 laps ago or 10, I just decided to save behind Brad and try to go at it for the last 5 laps. And I got really close. I think I cleared him with 3 laps ago. I think I might have cleared him. Maybe I should have just put the truck on the outside lane. I don't know if that would have done anything. But yeah, on that last lap, I tried to take a middle lane since the bottom was just not working to see if that would work. But quickly realized in mid-turn that I was going to run into him. So I had to let go. Let him go there, and then that was it. That was the race.
Now, a couple somewhat different venues coming up with Texas and Martinsville. How are you feeling about your odds with the next 2 races in this round?
I actually don't think I have many races in Texas or Martinsville, but I feel confident. I mean, I've been practicing Texas on the Cup car for the other series, and I like it. And I'm pretty sure I've done laps in Martinsville. I'm not sure if I've done many races, but it's short track. You have to use the brake, so I definitely like that. So I'm sure we'll be fine. Right now, we're just making sure we don't make any mistakes and just get to the final 4 for the championship.
All right, Abner. Anybody you want to thank to help make today possible for you?
I want to thank everybody at Private Label Team Hype, sponsors Tomahawk, Neonism, Ethica, and all the guys in our team that spot for me, Tommy Milner, and everybody else that helps out throughout the week. GSRC for broadcasting and PRL for hosting the league. Thank you, guys.
All right. That was our runner-up finisher tonight, Abner Acosta. Back to you, Reese.
Indeed, and final driver interview of the night going to be the number 48 of Thomas Sink with a great 3rd place finish from that 5th place start. Thomas, congratulations for that. What do you think brought you into that podium position here today?
I'm going to go with luck. Did not see that coming. I was not very fast in practice. I was kind of just hoping for a top 15. And then when its race started kicking off, it actually felt okay, and it just kind of worked out. Got lucky, honestly.
You were one of quite a few drivers in this field today who went for that single green flag pit stop. And I mean, there was potential for you to come in the caution on lap 9-ish. Why did you decide to go for the green flag pit stop?
Just to save tires. You just don't know what's going to happen during the race. If we end up getting 3 cautions early and you pit every time, you're not going to have tires at the end. So the idea was just to kind of save tire and not lose track position.
Well, playoffs is looking pretty good for you now as well with that 3rd place. How do you think you're going to go at Texas and Martinsville?
Texas should be okay. again, I'm kind of just hoping for a top 15. Martinsville, it's just kind of one of those how well you can pace in this league. Hopefully just stay out of trouble, get another top 15, ride her out until the next round.
Well, with this result, your spirits will certainly be lifted. Is there anyone that you'd like to thank for your podium today, Thomas?
Yeah, WhatAback Racing. The guys put in so much time in practice. Just get all the data they can, and they give it to me because I'm not really a big team player. I haven't been able to practice in a while. I'd like to thank Impressions for putting their name on their car, and then my girlfriend and the family at home watching. And then, of course, you guys.
Thanks very much for joining us, Thomas. Congratulations again on your podium. That's Thomas Sink there for WhatAback. Podium place. Excellent stuff. Well, Chris, that's going to bring to an end proceedings for tonight. What a great race. I was really looking forward to this anyway, but Kansas really turned it up tonight.
Yeah, it was a really good, clean race. Had a tremendous race there to the finish between Abner and Bradley, and I think it sets the stage very nicely for what we could expect in Texas next week.
Absolutely. You'll be able to join us for that this time next week. But before we go, we'd like to give a few thanks. Our first, obviously, go to the series